Miss Mallory, what's going on with you this week?
Not too much. I worked a lot, had to do a bunch of projects this week, had to go visit a bunch of people, so I was driving all over, driving for 2 hours a day, just here in San Antonio, so didn't get much done as game-wise. Finally set up my Switch to my TV, so that was fun. Getting my gaming PC back together from the move, which is always fun. That's pretty much it. I watched a lot of movies this week.
Okay. What movies did you watch?
I just finished watching Mr. Right. It's with Anna Kendrick, and she meets this guy, and it's just craziness, and it just makes me laugh. It's a feel good movie, but it's an action packed rom-com. It just makes me laugh every time I see it.
Okay.
No, it's a really good movie. I love it. Sam Rockwell's the other lead.
Yeah. And he's just amazing. He dances in all of his movies, so this one falls right in line with just his types of movies, so.
Mr. John, anything going on with you?
Just a lot of work, and until yesterday I hadn't gamed, but the game I did start yesterday I've been playing nonstop.
Okay, and we are going to be talking about that game in the podcast, so that'll be coming up. Oh, unless you were talking about a different game. It is the thing we talked about, right? The game we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I just realized I might have just segued incorrectly. But no, that worked. It was going to be the game we're going to talk about on the podcast. Of course, of all the games that came out since the last episode, I'm pretty sure most people will know what game that is. But we'll get to that. We'll save it for a little bit. And then Josh is not here. He's had some stuff come up, so unfortunately he wasn't able to join us today. But I was just thinking about it today. We've only ever missed 3 episodes. It's been 67 weeks since this Connected Cast started. So that's exciting. I really wish we could link up again, but it just looks like everything's starting to get bad again. So I think it looks like we're about to recede into kind of when this all started. But I guess we should rather be safe than sorry, because I'd rather, not kill everyone. But anyways, aside that, I've just been playing a few games. There was a port that dropped this past week that surprised... Oh, shit, I keep clacking my teeth. My bad if you guys can hear that on the mic. But there was a surprise port that dropped this last week for this game called Ruiner. It's like an overhead shooter. Pretty violent. Takes place in cyberpunk-ish universe. So we got a lot of that, Blade Runner aesthetic, since that seems to be the general comparison when it comes to, cyber shit. So I'm going to use that, of course, as an example. But it's the interesting thing about that port. Why is it interesting? Because most games are being ported to Switch, so it's not really that interesting in that sense. But if I recall correctly, I need to dig up the post, but I swear the devs made a statement saying that the game would never come to Switch. The game came out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One a while back, so I don't know if they kind of changed their mind or figured things out, but I swear they made a statement saying it was never going to drop on the Switch, but I gotta say, it runs alright. A few frame drops during, when they're kind of panning over the city and stuff, but other than that, it plays really well. It's a really fun, fast-paced, strategic overhead shooter, so good stuff there. I also started a game I've been wanting to start for a while called Underhero, not related to Undertale at all, but it's a very cutesy, I don't know how to describe the combat. You kind of do your side-scrolling, Super Mario-like levels, your little platformers, but there's a pretty intricate system in which you have a stamina or a turn gauge, and you can only block or defend or dodge so much, depending on what you have equipped as your attacks, and if you run out of stamina, you'll just, take the hit or whatever. But the general premise of the game is, in the very beginning, you're controlling the, spoilers, I guess it's the first 30 seconds of the game, but you're controlling the faux protagonist, which is your stereotypical knight, dude that's, going through, who gets killed by a chandelier. And then you assume control of one of the Goomba equivalent people, and you're going to play the rest of the game as one of the generic mobs that you should have been fighting in most games. So then you're going to go through a whole adventure to actually end up being the underdog or the underhero from, bad guy that becomes good guy. So they kind of do that. And then a bit more Pillars of Eternity. That game is like 1,000,000 years long, so it's going to take me a while to beat all that. I also I started it like a week ago, I want to say, if not a little bit longer. I started rewatching King of the Hill as well. Usually have it on in the background too when I'm, because I've seen all of them already, when I'm playing Switch just kind of as background noise. But still really good show. Still holds up. I guess you have to be from Texas because a lot of people I know that aren't from Texas hate King of the Hill. So maybe, but I have been rewatching that. I'm on season 8, like episode 10 now, and I still think I have like another 8+ seasons to go. So kind of crazy to think about how long that show was on the air. But good stuff. Consistently good. And at least it actually ended. So there's that. And then final bit of non-gaming related news. The Undertaker announced today. Wrestler The Undertaker, not just some random Undertaker. Announced that he is retiring as of today. And he has no intent of coming back. There's not going to be some weird Hulk Hogan comeback 30 years later or some weird shit like that. He's just like, I'm done. So he's calling it quits, which I can imagine it either has to do with... when we saw The Undertaker the last few pay-per-views, he's looked super old every single time. So it could just be age. It could be...
a little ragged, yeah.
Yeah, it could just be that, or it could be general bad policies of the WWE and not them getting into their shitty Vince McMahon type, shenanigans. So whatever the reason, he is calling it quits, which is a shame because he is definitely an important part of the industry. So he will be missed, and that. But best for him to do that than to end up like one of the many wrestlers who died. So there's that.
Yeah.
And before we get into the gaming news, Mr. John, where can everybody find your stuff on the internet?
At _ Evil Dead Guy on Twitter and Instagram, respectively.
Mallory.
You can find me on Instagram at awesome_Mally.
All right, and you can find all my stuff at ZDRocker at all the places, SlimAsianEntertainment.com and DisconnectedCast.com. All right, into the gaming news. Let's run up with... Oh, right. So, semi-related to the last topic, we talked a lot of PS5 talk last episode. Pretty much the whole episode was pretty much that. I did learn something disappointing, is a lot of devs said that the target point for gaming, once again this generation, at least here in the beginning, is going to be 30 frames per second. It's a bit disappointing, because I think that targeting 4K, 8K resolutions, but not even being able to hit 60 frames is really bad prioritizing. A game in 1080, 60 frames looks infinitely better than anything in 4K or even, especially 8K, which is pretty much not discernible to the average eye. To target a frame rate that PC hit in the 90s, to still target that in 2020 on gaming consoles is a bit shitty. But I gripe about that all day and night in my videos and on here, but I just think that, if they could do a better frame rate, I'd rather that than a resolution that most people I know aren't going to even enjoy. For example, show of hands here, what monitor or TV are you guys running right now? Are you guys even running anything past 1080? Or if you are doing 4K, anything past that?
No, 1080.
1080, right?
Yeah, I'm on 1080.
Yeah.
See, and I have a 4K, and I barely utilize it. I only do it when I'm watching either movies that are HDR compatible, or with the PS4, I couldn't even be fucked to upgrade to the Pro because I just didn't see it worth all the hassle of rebuying the same console again. So it's just one of those things where I would rather have something run at a smoother, higher frame rate. I wish I could give it... most fighting games, for example, run at 60 frames, right? They kind of have to for the mechanics of fighting games, frame data and all that stuff. With that being the case, you kind of really do see the difference. I'm sure you guys have seen the difference between 30 and 60, and you can notice the difference. A lot of remasters tend to be in 60 frames, stuff like that. I believe Last of Us on PS3 was 30 frames, and Last of Us on PS4, I want to say they did up it to 60 frames. That's a very good example right there. But again, I would take smoother frame rates any day over excessive resolution. I just wish that it doesn't translate well in a podcast format, but I wish if I did have monitors in front of everyone listening right now and they would see why the fuck I keep crying about this, I wish I could just show them, because it really is day and night. 4K, not Warhammer 40K, 4K resolution at 30 versus 1080 at 60. If I showed you them left and right, unless you're pixel peeping, you would probably, or you're blind, you would probably choose the 60 frame one because you think it looks smoother or nicer looking because it's not jittery. Well, not that Lock 30's not jittery. I know someone's going to attack me and be like, well, if the 30's locked, it's not jittery. I'm like, yeah, but it's still more stagnant looking. It's very... one of my favorite test examples is Tomb Raider self-titled of the current trilogy. If you play that at 30 frames on PS3 versus 60 frames on PS4, big difference. In fact, on Xbox One, it runs at 30 frames and 60 frames on PS4. So even when I ran those versions back-to-back, very noticeable. But I'm going to stop harping on about that. But my point being is I'm just really disappointed that here in 2020, for next gen, to know that the beginning target is still this old target that's been there forever, it's just frustrating. It's just... I don't know where they're getting these. They must be just choosing that. The industry must be choosing that or it must be that hard for consoles to run 60, although I don't believe that. Because most people I know, most gamer people I know, well, let's be honest, the average gamer that's playing Fortnite could give a fuck less. But the most gamers that I know, the Gen Zers and the millennials, most of us would rather have a silky, smoothly looking game than pixel peeping we can't see. So, it's just frustrating. I know I said I was going to get off it, then I started harping on again, but it's just annoying. Star Wars Squadron, the only interesting game shown at the EA event. What are your thoughts on it? We'll go Mal and John. What are your thoughts on seeing this dogfight space ship type game come out?
So, I like it. From the trailer that you sent us, it looks good. The only thing that I've always had a problem with like dogfight games is the controls are a little wacky, or like if it's not done right, you can feel like you're gonna for like me, like get motion sickness because you're flying all over and you're doing the spins and stuff. And for me, I'm not a big fighter pilot game. Right.
You're not running flight simulators all the time.
Yeah, like I'm not good with them. Should have seen me try to play Battlefront when they had the space ops and stuff. It was awful. Like I'm not good at them, but it did look interesting, and I can see why people would like it. It looks like a beautiful game. I just don't think I'll be the target audience for that one.
Fair. Mr. Johnny Boy, how are you feeling about Star Wars Squadron?
It looks really nice. It reminds me of the Long Night of Solace level from Halo Reach. That's my favorite level on there, and it's cool. I like flight sims like that, especially in space. Personally, I'm a little Star Warsed out, so I don't know if I'll be jumping onto it. I thought the presentation was a little, what's a nice way to say this? Written by someone who doesn't use the internet very often. It was just very bland and like, here's your user interface. This is where you control how your ammo, and your power levels and your shield. But yeah, no shit. You would expect that from that kind of game. But that's just a minor gripe about the presentation. The game itself looks really cool. I hope the controls are pretty easily accessible. Once again, referencing Halo Reach, that was easy to jump into. I play inverted, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, cool. So picking up from there, lots of good, stuff you guys pointed out. I appreciate the feedback. So here's where I stand on all this. I agree with a lot of that. I agree, John, that for playing, we're some of the few left on Earth that still play inverted. We're those heathens, as people would call us. So we're going to jump. If they do use true flight controls, we're going to be right on in there. We'll see. I agree. Star Wars is definitely... I'm done. I'm really tired of that. They did promise no microtransactions. However, they haven't said anything about a season pass or DLC yet. Do I applaud them? Should I even applaud them for no microtransactions? Not really, because that shouldn't even be a thing to begin with. But yeah,
exactly.
I'm just a little worried about that aspect of things. But should they not overblow it? Should they just have a few DLC levels? I'll be all right with it. It does look pretty cool graphically. It looks fine. I think the squad-based combat, it's an interesting aspect of Star Wars. Outside of this, the Jedi lightsaber force stuff all the time. It's nice to take a break from that. So, good stuff. I think that overall it does look cool, and I'm hoping it's EA, so I'm always cautious. There's always that. John, take it away.
Too negative on it.
Take it away with a random Star Wars anecdote right now, or whatever you want to talk about. I'll be back. Restroom time.
I was just gonna say not to be too negative on it, but it seems like they're just kind of putting the game out there to remind everyone, like, hey guys, Star Wars still exists. I know you didn't like that last movie, but here's this cool game. You can shoot stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's just I like flight sim games, but I'm just tired of Star Wars, and I like Starfighter games. Something.
Do you think if it wasn't Star Wars, you would jump on it a lot faster?
Yeah, probably. Like some OC would be nice. Like the Star Wars is cool. It's great. It's an established universe, but putting out a game like this doesn't really leave room for other. This has been a big gripe of mine for the longest time, that we get these rehashes of the same series. Like to use Resident Evil for example, but at least that's been a continuing narrative. And they're changing the pace, so okay, that I just negated my own point there. But we get the same series over and over and over. Let's throw Borderlands 3 under the bus, and that doesn't really leave room for new stories, new narratives, different worlds to be explored.
Okay. I definitely see that, since, I feel like there has been a lot of Star Wars games coming out lately. It just seems like they're pulling at straws to try to make the franchise bigger in that way for a better video game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I know the audience exists. Star Wars fans are eternal. But like I couldn't even get through what was it, The Last Jedi? No, that's the movie. What's the new game that came out?
The one that was more Dark Souls than anything, that caught everyone up. Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Thank you, yeah. And that's a great game. The gameplay's tight. The story's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a game that got caught everyone off guard, because the initial impressions of it did not match the kind of game it was. No one expected a Souls-like. No one expected a Souls-like from a Star Wars game. No one expected a Souls-like from Respawn, who makes Apex Legends and Titanfall. No one expected it at all from EA. So it's one of those things where everyone was like, what? Cool, but what? I do know some people were also surprised in a negative way, because some people don't like those type of games. So they were a little disappointed in it being, not as, like a Platinum game style, fly around, sabers flying everywhere, kind of, slush, and having to play strategically didn't appeal to everybody. Having to think didn't appeal to everybody. Go figure. Even though Josh couldn't join us today, he did send a few thoughts on some of our topic points, which I do appreciate that. All he really said about Squadrons was he's excited because, it does look pretty awesome. Reminds him, because he really loved Rogue Squadron on N64, like a lot of us who played it did. It's a great game. But, it is EA, so we can also have that general consensus in terms of cautious of EA, but EA has sworn, they swear for all these no, that was Activision that swore about Call of Duty. I'm stupid, because EA doesn't make Call of Duty. But for Battlefield, which is that's the one that EA makes, for all these future games, they swear they're not going to be littering them with microtransactions, but how much do we believe them? No, probably not. We'll see.
I'll believe them when I see it, yeah.
Exactly. We'll see. So, Jedi Fallen Order did a good job of that, but that's one game. Although I think they still had some... I want to say they still had some vanity stuff to decorate your droid, so I guess not really. So they still kind of screwed that up a bit. Moving on. We talked about Xbox Smart Delivery last time, that one that'll let you play all the Xbox games you buy from now on into infinity. Whether they up the graphics, up the frame rate, up the resolution, you will always have what Xbox calls the best version of the game. That'll eliminate the need for remaster bullshit, backwards compatibility, because they're always making it forwards compatible. We talked about that last time. Now, one other detail I forgot to mention, or wasn't announced yet at the time, one of the two, but another part of this is your save data will also be forwards compatible into infinity. So, that's cool. Because I know one issue people were having, right, is I was able to use my OG Xbox games and my 360 games on my Xbox One, but guess what was missing for a lot of them that didn't have cloud? My data. So, even though I could fire up Morrowind again, all my saves are on my OG Xbox, so, not, yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, so save data as well, also being carried with you forever. So, we'll see.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a smart thing. Now, last time as well, there's a lot of reference ones. Maybe I need to keep saying last time, but we did talk about it last time, so I guess it is pertinent to say as well. I don't know if you guys remember, but I mentioned the potential, how Xbox did a trademark for a potential new version of the system.
Mm-hmm.
They announced recently, codenamed Lockhart, there is going to be one that's allegedly going to be half the price of the Xbox Series X that will still run as much. It's just going to cut a few of the frills, maybe a smaller hard drive, maybe whatever. The console itself is also going to be literally half the size, pretty much. So they're doing a budget version that's actually literally smaller, but will not cut down on all the important stuff, so it still should be a true next-gen console for less price. Kind of like the all-digital PS5 versus the one with the drive. There's going to be some sort of price difference. Of course, the alleged leaked price, I forgot if we talked about this last time, but the alleged leaked price of the PS5 is $699. We talked about how production of the console was like $400, I believe, for Sony to make it. So if this leaked price is true and they go for a $700 console, 6 or 7, let's say, let's just make a range there, because of the two prices I've seen rumored. Are you guys going next gen anytime soon for 600 or $700?
For me personally, probably not. Unless they have something really, really great, or they just start pulling the Xbox One stuff. But I mean, I'd like to have it, but I wouldn't go next gen until, I know I've played the games and I actually have time to do that.
Right, Mr. John.
No, I never jump on it at first.
Yeah.
But, you said allegedly the production cost is $400?
That's what they claim. It was like $350 to $400 a unit.
So either way, somebody's going to be taking a loss on sales. But that's kind of their thing, isn't it?
It is.
Even with the PS4, they didn't make a profit for the fourth or fifth year?
Yes, which is the fastest a console's ever made a profit. The PS2 took took 15 years.
Jesus. What is that? Like, do you have any insight on that? Why is it their model?
Because the only reason they do that is because if PlayStation was going to sell it as a profit from the get-go, they tried to do that with the PS3 for $800. That's why. Because they didn't sell... You know how many PS3s they sold at launch? Fucking pretty much nothing. Yeah.
Well, you don't want to get on layers?
No, it was, and I know someone's going to correct me. Guys, that's called hyperbole. The PS3 was $600 at launch, which is about what this is going to be. So it looks like they're trying it again almost, except they are actually taking a loss on this because the hardware on this does cost a lot more. And I don't know if you guys saw because I thought this was, I don't know why, I did that thing where I assume because I know everyone knows that you guys know, that the listeners know. But I don't know if you guys saw the reference pic. The PS5 is huge. You guys know that, right? The PS5 is like the size of like two PS4s taped to each other. Like, it's a monster. Yeah, go ahead and look it up. But yeah, it's a behemoth. Like that thing, they show it next to like a PS3, like the OG PS3, and it looks slender compared to the PS5.
Holy shit, dude.
You see it?
It's so big.
Yeah. That's a little weird if we took all those out of context. But yes, the PS5 is definitely big. It's crazy. But, how do you guys feel about the aesthetic of this? I kind of like railroaded the conversation last time because my whole thing is I think it looks ridiculous, and I think that people that say it looks good is like crazy. At least if you say it looks good and you shit on the Xbox One. If you say the Xbox Series X looks fine, you say the PS5 looks fine, then you're a reasonable person. If you really think the PS5 looks better, I don't give a fuck what you think about the Xbox. If you think that the PS5 looks better than the Xbox, I don't know what you're smoking. But you guys, what do you guys think about the aesthetics of the PS5? In your guys' honest opinions, despite me always shitting on it.
I think it looks silly. Like,
a little too much?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I get the Xbox One looks like just a gaming tower.
Yeah.
Or an Xbox X looks like a gaming tower. But I just feel like the PS5 looks so odd. It's just awkward looking.
Alien.
And I mean, I love awkward looking furniture. Like, I'm the one who probably will buy an egg chair. Like, that's my thing.
Avant-garde.
But it looks so, it looks so odd that I'm just like, why?
John?
Like, I feel like they could have made it look better.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, John?
Jumping on to Mal's last point there, I think it looks fine. I'm loving all the memes on it, but it does have, it looks kind of cheap. Like they didn't put a lot of thought into it, like someone's first draft of what they wanted,
Yeah, I think, I forgot if it was Castle Super Beast or Jim Sterling that said it, but I believe someone said it looks like a direct response to the Xbox Series X looking so simple that Sony said, oh, fuck that, we gotta be wild then? Do you think that is that plausible, do you think, that was the train of thought?
Yeah, it's like Xbox Series X is, made by the railroad, and the PS5 was like, well, fine, we're gonna join the Institute.
Fair.
Our nice white laptop.
I could see that. They've always had that kind of thing. Yeah, they seem to kind of go those aesthetic routes.
I'm definitely, when I do get it, I'm definitely getting it off disk drive. I'm looking at it here, and I don't like the way it kind of juts out to one side there. That's kind of all.
Wow. Okay. Well, in that case, then you would very much agree with Wooly and Pat on that one. That was their whole thing too. Is that the diskless drive one, the all digital one is probably the easiest way to say that. Looks a lot better because it's more symmetrical looking. But yeah. So here's the funny thing that they brought up also is how the hell, right? Most people's PS4s that I know, mine stands up because I have a stand for it. Most people I know have it lying on its side. What the hell with that one, right? Is that really even designed to lie on its side? Like, it looks like it's not meant to. I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure someone has figured it out already, or there is going to be like a way to like push something back to make it sit down better. But to me, it looks like it would wobble. That's what it looks like to me, anyways, in the render.
It doesn't look very sturdy.
It's all it's all a bunch of knock plastic. It's very hollow, even though it's heavy because of the premium interiors like the solid state drive and the chipset. But the actual exterior, apparently, it's very plasticky, like even more plasticky than the PS4 feeling because it's smooth plastic. So it's
It looks like it, but yeah, that's a good point because it's so huge. Like it doesn't look like it'll fit on its side, but to stand it up, you'd have to like clear a whole space on your gaming whatever just to fit it.
And a lot of people use those like that entertainment center shelf that everyone uses, where a lying down console fits perfectly. I don't use that, obviously. I just have it on the floor like an animal. But for people that do that, how big is your shelf that the PS5 is going to be able to stand up in your entertainment center? I guess if you have a side cab or something, that'll work. But still, most people put it in one of those slots. Are you going to have to buy
a new entertainment system just to have entertainment center just to
have a ridiculous one. Just have a little alien cradle for it. That's all you'd really have to do. It does look like an Alienware computer. That's what it looks like. It looks like something the Dell people at Alienware people at Dell, looks like something they would design because it looks future. So
yeah,
exactly. So future.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the controller design?
Mm-hmm. Wait, what'd you say?
How do you feel about the controller design?
Oh, the controller looks dope. The controller, I'm fine with. I think when they revealed the controller a while back, I was like, this looks cool. And I was expecting the PS5 to kind of follow suit in looking just like... Because, like, I don't know. I guess if you really do think about launch versions of every console, they do look pretty different. The launch PS1 versus the launch PS2 versus the launch PS3 versus the launch PS4. They all do look pretty different. But I expected it to basically just be a white PS4. Maybe with a little bit rounder PS4. But, yeah, I didn't expect the console reveal. But I think the controller looked fine. I think it looks fine.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So I don't know if it's real, but I saw those renders of a black one. I forgot there's like a Miles Morales edition. I don't know if that's real or not.
Hold up.
It's like red and it's like all black with like red accents instead of all white with blue and black accents. But if that is true, if you guys look that up real quick, what do you guys think about how the console looks in black and red? I guess.
Oh, bro. If this is legit, like, then I'm definitely getting to that launch.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you're down with that version, okay? Yeah, no, it definitely looks different in another color scheme. Who would have thought? But it does look different. So, oh yeah, John.
It does look better.
Right. Yeah, it does. But sorry for that awkward transition. I got caught off guard. But John, I forgot. Would you buy the? Oh yeah, you said you don't buy any console at launch, right? That's what you told me.
Yeah, I wait to see. I wait for feedback from you usually other gamers that I associate with whose opinions I trust. General Metacritic, see what people say, what bugs they have to work out.
Yeah, even the PS4 is the fastest I've ever bought a new PlayStation, and I waited like a year before I got one.
Yeah.
My main concern is every gen, it looks like this gen's following the same thing. How many of those trailers we saw at the reveal event that we watched all said like 2021 or because this is coming out at the end of this year. So how many of them said 2021 or later or no date or TBD or sometime before you die or whatever the release date was that was revealed? None of them were really like at launch, get ready to. No, none of them. I don't think any of those trailers were like actually bragging about being a launch title. So
yeah.
Both Xbox, one thing where they're even on the field is that both Xbox and PlayStation, they may have varying amount of titles that look interesting on each one of them, but they both definitely look like they're lacking a launch lineup. So, yeah. Weird move. Kingdom Hearts game is coming out on the Switch, the first Kingdom Hearts game to ever come out on the Switch, but it's not even a proper Kingdom Hearts game in the sense of being a mainline title. It's actually going to be a rhythm action adventure game. I mean, I don't know. So I'm not the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan. I don't think I should make an opinion because I'll just offend anyone who does like Kingdom Hearts. Are either of you guys into what you saw? What was going on? I know it was in Japanese, so you guys can really understand what it was saying. But
I thought cool rhythm game. Haven't seen one of those in a while, but I'm not. I'm saying I'm not a big Kingdom Hearts guy.
Okay, fair.
I mean, I love Kingdom Hearts, but I don't think I'll play this one just yet. One, because I'm not big into rhythm games. It does look cool, but I'm just not into rhythm games. I'm not very good at them.
Fair enough. Josh looks like it could be enjoyable. Music and rhythm game should work well, so we'll see how that goes. Pokemon Snap. So for a while it just said new Pokemon Snap, but with Nintendo's bad branding, you never know what that actually means. It's new. It seems like they've since confirmed, since that weird Nintendo Direct, or Pokemon Direct, that it is a new game. I think the confusion came with, it seemed to be really similar to the first game in terms of, environments. But I guess it's just going to be an island again, new Pokemon. But hey, I'm open to some Pokemon Snap coming out. Now, I also would have liked a port of it because the Pokemon Snap on the Wii U came way too late. I was already over the Wii U by the time it came out. Which sucks because the Wii U was the perfect one for it with the little controller and everything. But hey, a Switch Pokemon Snap game. I'm down. I love Pokemon Snap, one of my most favorite Pokemon games of all time. So that's my thoughts on it. Mr. John, how do you feel about the Pokemon Snap?
First point, little peeve, they didn't call it Pokemon Snap 2.
Yeah.
Personal gripe.
That's Nintendoing.
I love Pokemon Snap. I played the hell out of that game. I spent literally hours trying to get the perfect picture of Mew.
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, the Snap is dope. I would like to see a port of the OG to come along with it. That'd be a nice little, included.
Bayo 1 came with Bayo 2. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Valerie, Pokemon Snap time?
I'm so excited. I spent so much time playing Pokemon Snap on my N64 that, I remember me and my sisters would fight, literally fight to the point that my grandparents bought us another N64 so we could play different games. I mean, I am a little peeved that they didn't call it Pokemon Snap 2 because it's like they forgot that there was already a Pokemon Snap.
It's weird,
that was
right?
really great.
New Pokemon Snap. That's weird.
But I'm excited. I feel like that's something that we would all play together.
Definitely.
You know, just hanging out with our Switches.
Yes, that would be, and then showing off, being like, "Oh, yo, look, I took a picture of Charizard." Oh, sorry, I talked over everybody. Go on, Mr. John. What were you saying?
No, I was just interjecting. Sorry. That'd be so dope if they had multiplayer like that.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Like we'll all go on the same track at the same time, and they'll score us based on our pictures for better or worse of each Pokemon. Yeah, that would be cool. Some competitive modes. That'd be dope. I think what I'd like to see is like a home base that you could decorate with stuff that you earn. You know, make it your own. Have people check out your little safari hut or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I missed that from Gen 4 where you had your secret base.
Exactly. Yep. That's what made me think of doing something like that again would be dope. Online leaderboards with your friends would be cool. Just stuff like that. Now, a Pokemon each, you can say a few if you really can't decide on one, but a Pokemon each that wasn't in the OG Snap game, which shouldn't be hard because there's only been a few hundred Pokemon to come out since then. What is one of the new Pokemons, or at least one or so, that you'd like to snap a photo of? For me, it'd be the new ice cream one. I like that one from the new game. Whatever it's called.
Vanilla.
Yeah. So that would be cool. What about y'all? What Pokemons are you looking forward to taking pictures of, assuming they're all in the game?
Sobble.
Hell yeah.
Hydreigon, just because it's my favorite Pokemon, because it's King Ghidorah, and he's a dark dragon.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. This is a dope looking one. That's the thing. A lot of people make fun of Dragon Pokemon fans because it's a very visceral, primitive, like, it hits the kid in us, you know what I mean? Like, it's the edgy 12-year-old in us that loves the way the Pokemons look. But,
yeah.
To be fair, the Dragon Pokemon do have some of the most aesthetically pleasing designs in the game. They do look really cool. So, to be fair, they are pretty dope. So, good call. Josh said, took long enough, but should hopefully be fun. So, yeah, I agree. I think that it's one of those things where let's hope that they don't throw any dumb shenanigans in there and that it comes out fine. Next one. Cyberpunk delayed again. What a freaking surprise.
I know, right?
Cyberpunk 2077 delayed to, I think, November 10th or November whatever the hell. It's November now, not September.
It is November 19th, and that's why I can't gripe. It's my birthday.
Oh, there you go. If it actually comes out finally, well, kudos. That'll be fun for you. Have something to do, especially because we'll probably still be in quarantine at the time, but there we go.
Right.
Oh, they did announce that the PS5 is getting on board with the Xbox One, and you will get a free upgrade. You buy a copy of the game, you don't have to buy the next-gen version. So, free upgrade to next-gen, just like Xbox announced months ago. But now PlayStation's getting that same deal for Cyberpunk, so there you go.
I was just going to say, can't wait till all the Sony fanboys jump on and be like, look at this great idea that Sony had.
Yeah, that's the thing that killed me, and I called this. I'm not even an Xbox sympathizer. I hate it because but I have to be there to defend them because it's really not fair a lot of the times because the gaming press is so biased against Xbox, even when they do something good every once in a while. The thing that I knew, and the thing that pissed me off, I told Josh this, and I did see a few instances of this where I got like my blood boiled, is that the PlayStation 5 regular and then the all digital edition, I'm like, Xbox literally already did that this generation.
I know, right?
Like, the Xbox SAD. The Xbox SAD. That's actually it. The Xbox SAD. All digital. So, the Xbox SAD did it first, okay? So, leave them alone. Xbox actually did it. But you're right, that is a thing where people are going to be like, yo, kudos to PlayStation, am I right? And I'm like, no, not kudos to PlayStation. They're the ones who said it last. It's like all the people with this crossplay stuff now that Sony's finally on board with some of these crossplay things. Everyone's just like, yeah, here goes Sony, yeah, crossplay. I'm like, dude, these are the same people. I remember that presentation so well. It was so hilarious because one of the top dudes at Sony at a press conference was asked, why the hell won't you let y'all's Fortnite play with everybody else? And the guy said, because why would you want to do that when PlayStation 4 is the best place for anyone to play Fortnite? And it wasn't Digital Foundry, but someone straight up did a factual sheet about how PlayStation 4 had the worst version of Fortnite, most lag, worse server connections, worse performance in general. And it was just so funny. They were just like, what do you mean it's the best place to play it? It's literally, factually, the worst place to play it. So, anyways, it was just one of those things where PlayStation's always doing that. It's like, I remember when they were just like, when Xbox One announced that they were doing backwards compatibility all the way back to OG, and PlayStation was like, backwards compatibility? That's dumb. You guys want to buy all these remasters, though? It's just like, shut the hell up with all these remasters. God.
I'm a Sony fanboy, but like Sony is literally that meme where that dude is standing on the podium with his medal and like chugging champagne,
yes,
and the girl, and then it moves out.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and I hate it because, like, let's face it, I love PlayStation, and that's why I this next gen, that's gonna be the first one I get because Microsoft already betrayed me about Scalebound. But
rage forever.
Yeah, exactly. But what I will say is, it really is the Apple syndrome with Sony. They can't do any wrong. No matter how dumb of something they release is, they can, remove the headphone jack and add a dongle to do it later through the USB port. PlayStation could do that same thing and get away with it, but if Xbox did that, oh my god. It would be over.
Everybody would be so pissed.
Yeah. So it really is, it is frustrating.
Sitting on Xbox, guys. Like,
yeah, exactly. So that way...
I had a conversation with somebody about that, and I brought up backwards compatibility, and they were like, well, Sony, and I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, seriously?
Yeah, pretty much. The other mildly interesting thing that was announced at the EA thing was that Apex Legends is, coming to Switch, which we'll see. That's a really graphically intensive game, so I'm a little worried about how it's going to run on... I'm a little concerned about how it's going to run on Switch, but we'll see. But assuming it does run well, they also did announce that they are also going to be doing crossplay with PS4, PS5, etc., etc., etc. So I don't know if it's being pushed early as because they were forced to, because there was a Taiwanese leak of Crash Bandicoot 4 is finally coming. Some screenshots, some really blurry screenshots apparently leaked from a Taiwanese leaking website. So it looks like in a few hours after you guys, or either it already just happened, or a few hours after you guys are hearing this episode, should you listen to it on time, at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time every Monday. They're apparently going to officially release, talk about it now. But yeah, it's we're going to see. But apparently... they're actually getting a modern sequel. After all these remasters, and then that remaster of the CTR Crash Team Racing game, it looks like they're actually finally making a brand new Crash Bandicoot game. And I love the title, too, if it's true. It's called Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. So...
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a hilarious thing in terms of... it looks like there's actually a tweet by the official Crash Bandicoot Twitter, and they talked about how tune in June 22nd, 11 a.m. Pacific, and I'm bad at time zones, for the actual official reveal. The official reveal, that little symbol greater than leaks, I promise, winky face. So, we'll see. But yeah, very interesting. Definitely. Here's the thing they need to fix. Let's just get, the nostalgia out of the way because, yes, we're all happy. Crash Bandicoot's great. But if anything, the remasters prove, because they didn't mess with the control scheme, is that Crash Bandicoot's control scheme did not age well. So, if you're going to make a new Crash Bandicoot game, please fix the controls a bit better. Make it more modern. Just fix it. But thanks, Taiwan. Now you forced them to actually reveal it ahead of time. So there we go. So... everyone knows how I feel about Riot Games, the misogynistic, racist company that makes League of Legends and are making all these other games like the very boring game Valorant. Ron Johnson, very unique name, the global head of consumer products, has recently stepped down after saying that the murder of George Floyd was caused by his criminal lifestyle and... Yeah, which he continued to say that his actions were abhorrent and against our values, and that's why he was killed unjustly by the police. So, he's gone now, because Riot Games doesn't need another fire on their hands. But yeah, what a cool guy, Ron Johnson. I'm sure you're going to get a job somewhere else. Yeah, no, that's just fucked. There's not much to say there. It's just, bleh. How are people still so shitty in 2020? Yes, guys, everyone knows he was doing something illegal, but that's not the point, because it wasn't that cop's job to execute him unjustly and inhumanely, by the way. So, stop saying that shit. That's dumb. Oh, so there's that game that Ubisoft's been working on, Gods and Monsters. They showed some very vague trailers before. Apparently, some Stadia users, Stadia killing it again in the headlines. Some Stadia users, so you know how they're like on a constant like pipeline where just new shit's just going to be dropped as you go, and then you're going to see it in your menu like any other. Because remember, you're not really getting a streaming. It's not necessarily an entire streaming service like Netflix. You still have to buy the game, right? So it's like when you turn on your PlayStation or your Xbox and there's an ad for a new game, or like an option to download or buy a new game. Well, they saw one called, for a mysterious game called Orpheus. What it turns out, once they downloaded it, it's a in-progress pre-alpha version, missing a bunch of textures, straight up using models and textures from Assassin's Creed as stand-in people, because they're testing the game still. They're not even done making it. So yeah, for a small bit that day before it got pulled down like as fast as possible by Ubisoft, you were able to play a very incomplete version of Gods and Monsters. So based on what we saw from that, it's not even close to being done. So if you are looking forward to that game, don't hold your breath. It looks nowhere near complete, unless that was just assuming that was the most current build. So, you know, I'm gonna assume none of you guys even give a shit about Gods and Monsters or even know what that is.
Nope.
It's... Sorry, I was taking a drink of water. I have a mild interest because, Greco-Roman myth, exactly. But the art style is kind of not my thing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a little cartoony, right? At least from the trailer I remember. The person looked a little animated. I know they were actually animated, but yeah, so... Pokemon Sword and Shield recently dropped their first part of the expansion pass. I've kind of gotten over it, whatever. It's more Pokemon. As long as they don't do Pokemon Sword and Shield 2, whatever. If this is just the equivalent of that, I'm over it then. Whatever. Have your expansion passes, right? Because more Pokemon, whatever. They're Gigantamax and my boy Bulbasaur, so who cares? Put him in there. At least you're getting him. I secede my gripes about that. Whatever. Okay? But, unfortunately, the way that Pokemon and Nintendo like to do things kind of bit them in the ass, because a lot of complaints flooded in because people were accidentally buying the wrong version of the expansion pass. Because just like the games, Sword or Shield, there's expansion pass for Sword or Shield, to which people who, it's not obviously clearly marked, or it doesn't automatically attach it to which game you own, because the average person doesn't own both. So people were accidentally buying the Sword expansion pass when they owned Shield, and vice versa. So there were a bit of problems there, because people were so excited to play the expansion and then weren't even able to because they got the wrong version. So, whoops! Because unfortunately, even though you should have just done one version that works with both, they love to make their money. So for all the completionists out there, they had to screw you one last time. And, well, not even one last time. They're going to do it again this fall. But still, they just wanted to take your money twice again, because they couldn't even be fucked to just give you the... You know what? Thanks, John, for buying Sword and Shield. Just one expansion pass for you. No, fuck you. 2 expansion passes still, if you really want everything. A little shitty, but whatever.
Did they even... Okay, so the people that bought the wrong version, they offer like an even exchange? Or
they haven't said anything. I think they're just going to tell them, learn to read, bitches! I think that's actually what they're going to do, is just tell them to, too bad. Should have paid attention.
Or you could buy the main game now for the expansion.
Yeah, buy Shield now, yeah! Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad. I do kind of hate I hate the fact that... I get it, they've always done that for the main game, but I hate the fact that they're even carrying that over to the expansion pass. Part 1 even! Just like, Part 2 is going to do it again probably, so that's really bad. But apparently, going into the positive side of things, apparently the expansion pass, pretty cool. People seem to be really enjoying it, so, Good.
That's good.
Good for them. I've been thinking about firing up Sword since I got a whole 20 minutes into the game before. I thought about actually playing it again now that I'm over it, in terms of, my anger. I don't think it's right still, but it's still less shitty, I guess, so I secede a bit. But, I thought about firing it up again, and it's good to hear that the expansion's even interesting, because then that's even more gameplay, but we'll see. I have so many freaking games to play now. I have like 200 games on Switch now or more. I have like 200 or 300 games on Switch. I have a lot to get through, so I should probably stop buying them and maybe play them. But,
library, man.
Right? FIFA. All right, FIFA said that they're doing the all next-gen upgrade thing for PlayStation 4 or Xbox. If you're upgrading on the console already, so they're not promising it to you already, and you have to do it before the next FIFA comes out. So, what generous people. Who even makes FIFA?
Here's the thing with that. So one thing I've always wondered, going on sports games, right? Like 2K. Every year, the only thing we really pay for is like a roster change.
Yeah, which could just be a free update.
And not even that. Like, if the company still wants to make profit, just charge like $20 or $30 to whoever got traded, change teams, whatever, right?
Right.
And then have like a base game and go from there.
Yeah, but you know what? $60 though, plus season pass. Plus season pass already. So what's the season pass? Anyways.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right?
Yep. A sad, and I know a lot of the FGC fighting game community people out there are going to get mad at me, but it's how I feel about fighting games too. You know what I mean? It's like it's the Ultra Bastard Edition, and it just added like 2 characters and changed the movesets for some people. I'm like, shut the hell up. Those are 2 $5 characters and free moveset update. Like, don't give me that shit that you're charging me another $50, $60 to play the new fighting game shit. It's not new. You guys just released the last one last year. It's not new. So, what I'm trying to say is, if you don't bitch about that with fighting games, but you do bitch about it with sports games, you're kind of an all lives matter kind of person. So, that's what I'm saying. And it's a fact, so take that as you will. So, now that we've lost all our listeners, since I've ostracized everyone throughout this episode, we lost the PlayStation people in the beginning, and then we lost, for some reason, people who support like EA or Ubisoft in between, and now I ousted the rest of the fighting game people that were taking it to the end. Which, by the way, the fighting game community is one of our most biggest rushes we've ever had in listens, but then also at the same time, don't listen to the episode, because when I made that joke about, because there was that one tweet that dude, I forgot if you were there or not, John. I think you were still gone. But I made a joke about a certain like underground fighting game because Keats, I believe it was, no, it wasn't Keats, it was Javeli? One of the fighting game people, community people, one of the big wigs in fighting games, made a joke post where they set up that fighting games tournament in the bathroom. It was a joke, though. They joke tweeted that and put it out there. I used that caption as the title of the podcast episode, and we got so many dislikes and downvotes. I think I think within like 10 minutes of that episode being uploaded, even though you don't even hear me say that till like 40 minutes into the episode, people must have downvoted it on YouTube like 50 times already. So, controversial, but at the same time, y'all clearly didn't listen because I ended up saying the game was fine, and Josh said the game was fine. So, look what you guys don't know how to listen. I know, I used a bait and switch title, but that's entertainment for you folks. That's what it is. At least I didn't have a big old thumbnail with me sucking a dick on YouTube like most of these YouTubers use. So, wait until that starts getting millions of views. Right, Last of Us 2. Let's just lose everyone at this point. Y'all ready for this? Last of Us 2 recently came out, and it has a very weird Metacritic because its current critic score is 95 out of 100. 9.5 out of 10. The average user score is 3.2 out of 10. Now, let's think about games that do this, like a David Cage game. Or, anyways, the whole point being is There's very few times that this happens without some sort of controversy. What it does seem like this time is that the users that are review bombing the game, because a lot of people were pointing out that this is the problem with score-based games and just anyone being able to write a review on the user side of things, is the fact that most people were writing this within like 3 hours of the game coming out. So, did you even play it? A lot of people were saying either people are doing insane speed runs, or people aren't actually playing the game and are just writing reviews for no reason. And what it is it's a bunch of people that are fighting the nasty SJW, that's what quotations, the nasty SJW agenda that is laced within The Last of Us 2. Now, we're not going to spoil anything from The Last of Us 2, but according to the alt-right, according to the conservatives, there's definitely a heavy SJW agenda that Naughty Dog slapped all over the game. So that's why they're review bombing it. Because that's how that works. Yeah. So, taking it away to the only person on the podcast that's actually played the game, Mr. John, what are your thoughts about review bombing it? What are your thoughts on how the game actually is as a fan, and also trying to be objective to someone, say, like me, that would be on a critical point? If you don't have to memorize everything I'm just saying, but just in general, and then, of course, try to keep spoilers to 0 or a minimum. But take it away, yeah. Last of Us 2.
All right, to address the point you just discussed, what I'm going to say what I posted earlier. You know, sometimes a narrative is just a narrative without an agenda. It's just a story. It reflects real life, and these are elements that exist in real life. If you don't like it, you can go live on an island and have your own little world and your own microcosm. But this is the world we live in, and these things exist. Not things like that, but, you know.
Right. I know, yeah, it's hard because I'm limiting what you can say, but, again, you can try to squeeze some stuff out, but just try not to do anything that you feel is a critical point turn that might, just diminish someone's experience, because we're not trying to ruin people's experiences here.
Exactly. But that's it, it's the old, the old Freud thing, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. You don't have to project whatever your own personal politics are. It's a game. And going from there, it is actually, surprisingly, and this is coming from someone who enjoyed the hell out of the last one and was in the same boat with you and didn't think part 2 was necessary, a pretty damn great game. I'm about 7.5 hours in, and the narrative is great. The story is on point, the pacing is there, Naughty Dog kills it once again. There's, I'm trying to be spoiler free here. The things most people are griping about happen pretty quickly. One in particular that most of the fanboys, emphasis on boys, seems to be complaining about. But to address that, the main theme of The Last of Us is a cycle of violence. And one of the consequences of perpetuating that is that what you put out there gets returned onto you. So, if you go through the first game, murdering and torturing people, what do you think is going to happen to you?
Right.
But, other than that, the story's progressing pretty well. I like that you switch between the two different characters. It's nice to have those both points of view. That's why Halo 2 is my personal favorite Halo, because you have that dual perspective. Mm-hmm. And again, it fleshes out both sides. You understand if you pay attention. One thing I love that Naughty Dog does is they always slip in references to their prior game, and just the subtleties that they put into the game itself that allude to other events within the game is on point. Like, whoever wrote this, congratulations, you're on top of your game. But there's a part, and this isn't really spoilery because it's not giving away anything.
Yeah, and just as a warning, before John says it, here's your warning. If you consider this spoilery, if you think you might get triggered by this thing that he's about to say, this is your chance to exit out now, okay? Other than that, fast forward like 15 seconds and you'll be fine. All right, John, please within 15 seconds so I don't get in trouble.
I'm going to throw an NSFW tag on that there as well, because there's a part where Ellie is in the basement with another person, and they find some old videotape. And one of the tapes is called Smash Brandy Scooch, which is, an obvious reference to Crash, and I thought that was I laughed my ass off when I found that. All right, anyway, spoiler over. The gameplay. So I really like the way the game plays. The controls are a lot tighter. You have a mount so far, and that's pretty cool. The world is vastly expanded. It's not just the linear, almost sandbox-like last. I don't know if I'm using that right. I'm not.
No, sandbox would be sandbox would be what you're talking about. Sandbox would be like GTA 5. So your first point was correct. Linear was correct, but don't use sandbox because that'd be opposing point.
Okay. Then Last of Us 2 is a little more sandbox.
Yes. Because
the world is more fleshed out. You can actually get around and explore. You're not just going through a series of hallways.
Yeah, which is definitely what Last of Us 1 was. And this was, I'm very excited. I know I'm cutting you off as I'm saying I'm excited for it, but it's also because it wouldn't make sense for me to say afterwards. But I'm curious to hear what you say here, because to me, this is the thing that they had the most opportunity to turn around. So, continue, please,
and
about gameplay.
They nailed it. You get to explore more. It's great. And it's not so reliant on resource management so much. I'm playing on hard right now because I want to get through the story and find out, what happens, and then I'm going to go on grounded. If you have experience with games like this, hard is a cakewalk, man. Like, I'm finding ammo on almost every other body. I don't want to make this sound too hyperbole, I guess, but they've almost neutered the clicker. Like in the last game, like when you heard that clicking, you shit your pants. You're like, fuck. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to approach this? But now it's like when you're playing as Ellie, especially, she has her knife, and you can actually stealth-kill clickers. You can go behind them and just pop them off real quick. So that's cool. Kind of like, all right, that's cool. So it makes it a little bit easier when you're exploring. What else? Oh, they expanded on the platforming element. So you actually do get to climb. You're able to run and jump across gaps. You can sidle. You can slide through walls. It's cool. Like, it wasn't.
It's really, not. It's not put ladder from point A to point B, and that's your exploration.
Correct. I really appreciate the amount of detail they clearly put into this game. I've noticed a distinct lack of yellow marking, which is I'm sure I've told you about this before, right? In video games, how
they just make shit glow.
Directional points. Yeah, like that. Like I think it was God of War, but places you had to go, like they'd be wrapped in like yellow rope. No, it's Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, yes. Horizon Zero Dawn, like places you had to climb up the mountain would be wrapped in like yellow rope.
Yep.
And I've noticed that in a lot of games. Last of Us 1 was actually where I first noticed it.
You know why, though? Real quick, I can actually tell you why that's the case, why they did that, is they still have that option in accessibility. They added a bunch of accessibility. This is one of the most accessibility-friendly games where it pretty much can all the way down to a self-playing cakewalk almost of how many handicaps you can put. That might be offensive to use that term, but of how many aids you can put on to make the game show everything. There's a whole mode where it'll make the whole thing grayscale. You and your peeps will be blue. Things you need to go to and get are yellow, and then all the bad guys and bad stuff is red. All the way down to that color. They also have colorblind, deafness options, etc., etc., etc. So that's why they were able to tone it down a bit, is because if you are hampered by that, or if you can't explore properly without that, you can turn it on, but now it's not a default anymore. So that's just a little tidbit there.
Oh, thank you. I've always wondered why. Because I always felt it was a little too hand-holdy, but now I appreciate it.
Yep, exactly.
Like I said, so exploration is, not really encouraged, but you have the ability to do so. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. What else? That's about it. The combat's pretty much there. Like I said, I'm playing it hard, not too hard, but I'm greatly enjoying it. If I had to give it a score now, it'd be a solid, like 8.75 out of 10.
All right, cool. So still getting pretty good. Now, again, trigger warning here, but as you will say, so for these motifs, now I'm going to get a little more specific, so turn it off if this will bother you, but so a lot of the stuff in the game has to do with, like, gay stuff, lesbians, and whatnot. I've heard opposing things. I've heard things from the gay community of people not liking the way it's handled in there, and then of course there's all the incels that are just offended by it in general, because like our good old incel friend would say, why would Tracer be gay, right? So with that being a thing, how do you feel from a reasonable standpoint? How do you feel that they handled gay characters in the game, if they've addressed it much?
Okay, one, who the hell said that? Was it, whoa, dude?
Yeah.
Not surprised. Okay, so here's my point to that, because I almost got into a rant on this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to preface this by using Endgame as an example. So in Endgame, the scene where they're in the group therapy meeting that Cap's leading, and one of the Russo brothers portrays a gay character, people looked at that as like, oh, well, that's like, it wasn't representation done right.
Right.
Here's why that's bullshit. Because to we, the audience, yes, clearly they're shining a light that this man is gay. So, look, excuse me, we're being inclusive, right? But in the context of the narrative, which is how one should always approach any form of media, because that's where you'll get the true definition of how the storyteller intended to represent this character, that person is just taking their turn. We don't know what the story was. It could have been a trans person who was speaking before them and another LGBT person who was speaking after them.
Right.
Well, trans is a part of that community. So, yeah, like that. In the context of the narrative, they're treated as, I don't mean anything negative by this, but they're treated as nothing, which is how you should treat someone like that. Not
a person, treating them as a person, not as...
Yeah. Okay, they're just a person. Don't overemphasize them just because of their sexual orientation or whatever, right?
Right.
So, in The Last of Us, I haven't got to this person yet.
Yeah.
But the way Ellie's treated is just like that, In fact, okay, this is going to be spoilery.
Okay, so warning everybody, this is actually a spoiler, so careful. All right, John, go ahead.
It's early game, but there is a point where Ellie wakes up, goes back to the bar. They're talking about the night before, and the barman apparently called her a disparaging term for lesbian.
Right.
So Joel decked him, and him and Ellie argue and whatever. But that's the only time it's ever really addressed like that, other than her relationship. Which
right.
Again, it isn't even like, oh, these two gay characters are out in the world. It's just like, oh, Ellie and Dina are exploring, and as the story progresses, you see the relationship develop.
Right, and what I was going to say about the whole bar scene, you said it was a bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, in that bar scene also, what they're trying to do there, for better or worse in terms of the way they executed, I couldn't say without seeing it, but it just seems to be like they're just trying to give an example of how, hey, we may not like it, but sometimes that's how people in that community are treated by other shitty people. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was what I was going to get to a little bit. One of the things I've been seeing is that a lot of the trans community is feeling triggered by the portrayal of this person. And I'm not going to disparage that. I'm never going to criticize anyone for how they feel. That's
right.
Your personal choice. The way I look at it, though, is that the majority of the world has no experience or interaction with the trans person. So they don't know anything about their lives, their struggle, what they go through, how they deal day to day. From what I understand, the trans person in the game is exiled and beaten and treated horribly by their family. Mm-hmm. And from what I've come to understand by knowing certain trans people is that that's what a lot of trans people face, is that their families turn on them basically because they don't agree with them.
Yeah.
They find it repulsive. And I don't mean that I find them that way, but that's how I've come to understand that sometimes trans people are treated by their very own families.
Yes.
So
sure.
I can understand how that can be triggering, because if you've experienced that and you've gone through that, no one wants to see that presented like that.
Right.
But you have to understand that for people that don't know, this is one of the better ways to introduce that aspect.
Yeah, it could be eye-opening.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah.
but it's a part of life. It's something that a lot of people have to deal with, and this is, I think, a good way to bring that about.
Right. Yeah. So I get. Yeah. It's a tough one because, especially as not part of as none of us are part of that community per se. We have no right to say how someone from that community should feel. But you're right that also when it's something objective, sometimes people need to take that into consideration, the context of things, and the fact that maybe they're trying to make it a little more obvious because maybe straight-laced Joe doesn't understand that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel triggered or anything like that. But if the game triggers you, I understand if you're not going to finish it or play it.
Right.
Then there's no critique on that. I get it. I wouldn't want to be introduced to some kind of past trauma that I faced. So why would the same be expected of you? But in defense of that, I guess this, like I said, this is one of the better ways I can see of someone introducing that to a wider audience.
Mm-hmm. So, before we wrap, just because I don't want to harp on too long, as we're hitting the hour mark now almost. One, make sure to get out any other thoughts you have. Take your time still. I'm just kind of little red light. But two, to address something real quick, how do you feel then for either side that's review bombing? What do you feel about review bombing? Yes, it might get a point across, but as in terms of like the game's marketing, I know the marketing's never as important as maybe the way someone feels about their identity or someone who feels attacked. I get that. But you know what? That's a really loaded question. Don't worry about that one. Don't answer that one, actually. But yeah, people were review bombing it. But anyways, Last of Us in like 5 more minutes or anything. Any other things you wanted to mention about it?
Yeah, I can wrap up quickly and touch on those points. One, to touch on the marketing, don't get me fucking started on the goddamn Hunt the Truth campaign and how much bullshit that is. So no one should put any stock in whatever marketing anybody puts out, because that was what's that Tyler the Creator post? That was a fucking lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, one last spoiler. So spoiler. The one thing that these review bombers are bitching about that I've seen from 3 people on my friends list on Facebook and Twitter is that the reason they're mad is because their boy Joel gets fucking wrecked in the first like maybe hour of the game. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I love Joel as a character. I love Troy Baker. He did a fantastic job. And that did hurt seeing that happen because Ellie's right there watching him, and it's a very emotional moment, and it really pulls on your heartstrings. But like I said at the beginning, if you go around torturing people and killing people, and you basically condemned humanity because of your own selfish desire to recapture that lost connection with your dead daughter, you're gonna have some fucking repercussions.
Right.
So, but again, that's a narrative thing. But again, people who are view bombing can't seem to distance the fact that this is just a story. It's not some political message.
Right. Well, to me, I find it weird. I actually enjoy when important characters get murked when done right, because it is one of those things where it's just like, holy shit, they died? Like, what? Like, even if it's not something silly like in Deep Blue Sea, but it's something a little more emotional or serious like this one. It's one of those things where, this one being a more serious one, but still, to me, if it's presented properly and it's invoking those emotions, it should. That means it worked. But to cry about it is just a weird thing.
Yeah, and it's so terrible because it is a great game. Naughty Dog obviously put a lot of hard work and passion into it. Yep. And for these people just to gripe because their strong male lead character got what was coming to him, well, what are you going to do? People are going to bitch about what they're going to bitch about. Yep.
And a lot of people, Laura Kate Dale from Jimquisition was talking about, don't worry, this isn't taking out of your time, this is just me interjecting, but Laura Kate Dale from Jimquisition made a interesting, well, she's independent, but I listened to her on Jimquisition. She was talking about how the problem with Last of Us is, at least from what she heard, and of course from what she's played, is that the people who are rating it high seem to be hitting certain moments that make the game... So, in a shell when you're trying to explain Last of Us 2 without spoiling anything, it's hard to explain why the game's good, right? But when you get to all these pivotal moments, which you can't talk about in your reviews, all you're really going to see on paper is basic point, sounds like any other video game, 10 out of 10. And that seems to be what a lot of... Because the average score right now is like 10 out of 10. Well, technically it's 9.5 out of 10. But point being is a lot of people are giving it straight 10s and can't explain why. So there's a lot of people who are also getting triggered by that as another response to the user score bombing is people being like, well, why is this getting such a good score? Blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Everyone's angry. Everyone's angry from both sides. There are a lot of leftists that are angry, and there's a lot of, weird right observers that are angry. But...
God, the worst one I saw is this guy was going off about how it's bending and triggering, and he hasn't even played the fucking game. It's just, I heard, I read, I saw, I watched. Like, dude, you don't have an opinion here. I mean, yes, you do, but you don't have a valid one.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason I gave outsider commentary. Mallory hasn't said anything, and John is the only one talking about most of the game, is because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He's the only one who's played it. So all I can do is audience insert and addressing my own questions I had. So that's why. Because we're doing it right here. That's how we do it here. We do it properly. So, yeah.
To wrap it up, it's a great game. But the theme of The Last of Us has always been the cycle of violence and that people are shitty to each other, and when shitty things happen, they tend to be shittier.
Yep. Desperation especially.
Yeah.
So, yep. All right, everybody. Well, that was the week. That was Last of Us 2. John, always feel free if you want to talk about it more. We can always do something like this where we'll have it at the end, so that way those who want to stick around can, and those who don't can leave. And I'd like to hear more, especially if you have turning points. Maybe you end up hating the game. Maybe something happens. You change your opinion on something. Always feel free to kind of come back to that, because I always enjoy hearing things like that. So we'll see. Just keep enjoying it. Hopefully
next week when I actually come across that one character.
Yep. So there you go. All right then, Miss Mallory. Anything else? You awake? Everything good?
No, everything's fine. I was just listening to you guys talk about Last of Us 2, so...
There you go. And that's it. So just like the rest of the audience, you got to hear all that for better or for worse. And on that note, we will catch you guys every Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And until the next episode, we will catch you guys then. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
Later, guys.